So, on the spiritual awakening and the twin flame journey, there's so much surrender. I'm finding new levels of surrender, surrendering not only into the journey, but surrendering into myself. I find that there's places that, see, when during this twin flame journey, I'm so knocked out of focus that it feels like I can't focus on anything. And then I get into this place where I am kind of upset with myself that I can't focus and that I feel like I'm not taking care of what I need to be taking care of. And so then I have on top of that, on top of all the chasing energy and on top of all of the pain and the feeling of loss and a lot of times there's just pain without even knowing why the pain is there. There's just like a physical pain. I feel like I'm walking around with a hole through my chest. And I'm finding that the surrender has to come in so many different levels and so many different places. Not only surrender into the journey, but there's surrendering into myself, just being an allowance, knowing that I'm doing the best that I can. I really am. I'm doing the best that I can. Whenever I have like these impulses coming up or these like this chasing energy or this feeling that I have these feelings of like loss, and then I have feelings of missing out, and then I have feelings of that I didn't do enough, that I'm not doing enough, that I could have spent my time wiser. But when I really look at it, I know that I couldn't have. I couldn't have. With all of the emotions that are coming up, there's so many emotions on this journey. We're going through all of the spectrum of emotions. We're going through the entire spectrum from sitting in our highest places to we're working through it all. This journey pushes us into every single emotion that we could possibly have. And through it, we are losing ourselves. We're losing our old selves and coming into our new selves, coming into this new rising. But we're also learning how to, we're first of all, learning all of our emotions. And when we're pushed into these emotions, we are kind of forced into dealing with them. And every time that we're pushed into a certain emotion, it triggers everything in the past that has ever made us feel that same emotion. So this journey is, first of all, amazing, amazing. Look, I'm alchemizing my thoughts. I'm coming and giving it reason, but that's kind of what these doing these videos is really helping me also to work these things out. And so I'm also learning myself intimately. I'm learning every single aspect about myself, every single emotion that I can feel, I'm feeling to the extent of it, to the maximum. I feel like I'm going through each and every emotion all the way to where it's like to its supreme extreme until it starts turning back around, and then I'm finding the polar opposite of it, which is in the highs of once you overcome. And I am in the deepest level here. And I feel like the twin flame journey is pushing me because of the feelings of loss and because of the feelings of I don't know, there's just just all of this pain that comes up, You have to go through everything. You have to go through feelings of being disre- not disregarded, but there's a different word. It's more it's disregarded is passive. The word I'm looking for is actually like um, pushed away. There's a word for it. Rejected. So you have to go through also the feelings of being rejected and overcoming it and within yourself and realizing that that doesn't determine who you are, and feelings of self-doubt. And then I have on top of that all of the responsibilities that I have. I need to be working, and instead I'm out in nature because I can't, for some reason. You see, I should be watching my words. Abracadabra, like the words that I use create my reality, and I know this, especially the words that I speak of myself. I should start telling myself a completely different story. Um, but I think that there is a certain amount of, first of all, so that first of all, so that I can work through it, I have to acknowledge it and figure out what it is in order to overcome it. But also on this journey, making these videos, it's not only for me, it's for whoever is going through this. And this is kind of timeless, right? Because each of us that are going through this journey, what I've realized is that each of the journeys is different. Everybody goes through, I find that my journey is not exactly like, it's kind of different than most journeys. My partner in this is very, very, very spiritual awake. And I feel like he has known of me longer than I have known of him in the physical world, and that he has been on this in this journey longer than I have been, and that is what I feel. Um, um, at the same time, there are specific things that each and every one of us, I've noticed, are go through, which is we go through the pain, we go through the rejection, we go through the chasing, we go through the separations, we go through the telepathy, and and we all are spun into a spiritual awakening. And so there's a lot of similarities. I imagine that there's more that I'm not thinking of off the top of my head. And the mirroring, the finding that perfect mirror that comes and reflects yourself back to you. So this twin flame journey, it really does allow us to go in and really learn our own selves intimately, and it takes us through the entire spectrum of our emotions. And in that way we get to learn ourselves. We get to uh, learn who we are. And not only that, it empowers us, because once we go through all of these emotions, then we are in charge of our emotions. We know that we can go through them because we're kind of forced to go through them, right? A lot of these emotions, like I was just feeling about 5 minutes ago when I started this, a lot of these emotions, if we go through our whole life avoiding, we go through our whole life like it's closed off in a Pandora box. Anything that triggers that emotion, we kind of run away from. And all of a sudden on this twin flame journey, you can't avoid those emotions. You're like drawn to your twin like a magnet. And then you're like pushed away, also like the opposite side of a magnet. And you kind of, it hurts, but you're still drawn to it, and it still hurts and you're still drawn to it. It's like you're drawn to your own spiritual awakening. It's because we're broadening and it's happening so fast. It's like we're thrown into this, and we're in expansion, and like roller coaster style expansion, right? Like and with all the ups and downs and twists and turns and upside down and all around and everything that it entails, right? But in it, we're kind of forced because we're drawn to it, and then we get that flash, and then we're drawn to it, and we get that reflection. So we're going through all of our emotion. We're kind of forced to go through ourselves. Whereas in, if we didn't have that draw, we could easily avoid those and just kind of go along our lives without ever having to go through all the spectrum of emotions. So during the spiritual awakening, and during, once the spiritual awakening is ignited, that's it. There is no going back. You're on this path. One thing opens up and opens up, another thing opens up, another thing opens, like that box of Kleenexes that just keeps on coming. And it's also like it feels so good to purify yourself. So the pain doesn't feel good. The pain doesn't feel good. And you saw me at the beginning of this video. This is alchemizing our emotions, right? Realizing what they're there for, and going through them, and then allowing them to flow through, because I know that it's for my higher good. In the end of the day, it's going to be all for my higher good. At the end of the day, I'm going to be so much stronger for all of this. I already know that because it's unrecognizable who I am today and who I was 2 years ago. It's like, so we go through this spiritual awakening, and it allows us to know ourselves intimately. It also allows us to take control over our emotions. So we are going to be such, we and me are going to be such divine creatures. Once we come over all of these emotions, we are not held hostage by them anymore. Once we know that, first of all, we know the entire spectrum of our emotions, fear falls away, because there's nothing that can surprise you anymore. There's nothing that you can't deal with. When it comes, you'll know that you can deal with it. Once you deal with pain at the level of this, at the level that the twin flame journey makes you, or spiritual awakening makes you deal with your pain, once you know that you can deal with it, you become that much more powerful. You become, nothing, you don't fear anything anymore, because you know that whatever comes at you, you're going to be able to handle. And in this way, we become also healers, because we can go in with other people to the depth of their emotion, and not get, first of all, a lot of times people avoid um, going deep with somebody into their emotions because it's painful. You have to go in with them, and it's like sticky, so you kind of avoid it, just like you avoid your own emotions, right? It's the same thing. But we become healers because we can go in there, and we can hold our calm, and we can hold our center, because those emotions, we already know how to feel them without them moving us from our center. And we can also be with somebody else, be in alignment with somebody else that is going through deep pain, because we already know this pain. We know what they're going through, and we know that they can come out the other side just as we have. So we become like the wounded healers. And I noticed that a lot of people on this twin flame journey have gone through a lot themselves in their own personal lives. They've gone through abuse, have gone through loss, have gone through difficult childhoods. A lot of us have gone through a lot before we were even introduced. I think that it's kind of, you have to go through a lot and kind of come into this spiritual place even to magnetize your twin in. Otherwise, you're still in that dense energy, and you're not even able to magnetize them in. So I think that is kind of part of the journey. The first part is the individual work and the individual path. Had we not gone through difficult things on our own during our own life, we may not have ever gotten to a spiritual level where we were able to pull our twin into us. So it's already afternoon, and I think it's around 4:30 now. I came to the hot springs, and when I come here, lately I've been coming to the ancient rune site, to just kind of, I don't know, I feel connected here. I feel connected, so I'm gonna head back. Let me just show you over here around the corner, just because it's so pretty. I just feel like I just want to show you. Oh, wait. One more little bathhouse to come to. That's a little bathhouse. And then this is the grand. Ta-da! Okay, so I'm feeling a little bit better. And so, okay, so the point that I was making for all of this is that there is so much surrendering that we need to do. And I was just sitting here and I was sitting in the pain and I was feeling also guilty because today I went with my son in the morning. Well, not because of that, but I went with my son in the morning to the doctor and it took half the day. And then I got home and I have all this work that I need to be doing. And I'm single, so I'm the only one responsible for my work, and I couldn't sit in it. I just couldn't sit in it. Yesterday and today I've been telling myself, just sit in it. Sit in the pain. It's like any kind of detox. It's like any kind of overcoming an addiction. This twin flame journey, when you're in separation, you feel like chasing. And that's what, you have this, it comes up, it's like this urge. And what keeps coming back to me is just sit in it. Just sit in it. Start doing your work. Sit in it. And I keep finding myself running. I keep finding myself not being able to sit, not being able to stay in place, not being able to be at home. I work from home, not being able to stay at home. And it's been for days now that I have all of this work piled up. I'm building my site. And the only thing that I really feel like doing is running. I feel like being out in nature and making these videos. Making these videos, it feels like it's I don't know, it just comes naturally to me. It just comes, I think it's also because it's therapeutic for me. And it allows me to work through everything that I'm going through and talk about what I'm going through and talk about, the different realizations that are coming through. And I feel like it's my God's work. I feel like this is what, on the twin flame journey, as we're rising through the spiritual awakening, you start having callings. You start feeling like you have a calling to do something. And it kind of feels like it's above you. It feels like something that you can't stop it from happening. And that's kind of like what I feel with the videos, because it's not something that I would have ever thought. Come on, Lola. You have to go through a fence here. It's not something that I would have ever imagined that I would be doing. So it's kind of like something that was born out of this. First of all, it was born out of the twin flame journey for sure, because that's when it first came up, when I felt those overwhelming emotions and I felt like I needed some kind of exhaust, some kind of something. And there, where do you go? Where do you go when you're on a twin flame journey? You can't go to like a typical therapist, just wouldn't get it. Couldn't get it. Can't, I used to talk to my mother about everything. Can't talk to her about it. She doesn't believe it. She keeps on trying to prove me wrong. She keeps on trying to put something in my face so that to show me that it's not real. And she can't get it. She just can't. And there's nothing, it's not on her. Whoever's not going through this can't get it and can't understand. Okay. So I am going back to the hot springs. I'm going to get in the water and then I'm going to drive myself home and breathe. Okay, so I appreciate you guys watching. Thank you.